Good Pokemon, it's Mez, and welcome to another of my Sasuke World Cup 2024 analysis video. Last time we covered the first stage, where 7 teams, 5 countries, and 35 competitors compete for speed to earn as many points as possible for their team. It has been extremely competitive to say the least. There were amazing runs that we've witnessed with 18 clears, but there have been some surprises along the way. In the end, we had to say goodbye to 2 teams with the lowest points, and they were Team Japan Legends and the most shockingly of all, Team Germany. Now, 5 teams remain where they take on this special second stage, testing a competitor's speed once again. What makes this second stage so special? Who will rise to the top and claim the fastest time? And which team will falter? Stay tuned as we go through my thoughts and analysis on the second stage. My initial thoughts for this stage were that the 35 remaining competitors would take on the brutal second stage that tests not just their speed and agility, but stamina and upper body strength. It would be nice to see the foreigners try out the unforgiving obstacles, especially the last 3 obstacles, which takes a lot of stamina out of them and produce close times that add the tension and drama to see which teams advance to the third stage. However, that did not happen due to time scheduling constraints and other various reasons. I'm sure many eagle-eyed viewers spotted in some preview videos on Sasuke TBS's YouTube channel that there was just an empty moat that I would like to see turn into a spa-themed after-party at the Mount Midoriyama studios. Also, the past Sasuke tournaments of the second stage remain largely unchanged, which makes the stage relatively easier and getting more clears than expected, resulting in many digests or fast-forwarded runs to make the recording schedule of the stage short, but boring. In my opinion, this is a good positive change to this competition, and I'd rather see an alternative in which we see all the competitors full runs and showcase their talents on national Japanese television to the fullest. So what was the alternative? Well, this special second stage has only one obstacle, and that is taken from an obstacle that was first part of the All-Star Skills competition in American Ninja Warrior. That's right, the spider climb. Before I get to how the format of this special stage works, here's my thoughts on this change. In my opinion, I like this new concept, as it is short, simple, and straight to the point. Also, many competitors are top speedsters, so it would be interesting to showcase how fast they can spider climb and whether their times are good enough for their team to advance further in this competition, which now leads me to how this second stage format works. The stage consists of 5 heats, and each team must choose 2 competitors to take on this special second stage spider climb. Each heat would have 2 competitors, 1 from each team, and they will go head to head and spider climb 15 meters to touch the buzzer at the top and produce a fast time for their team. If a competitor falls off during their ascent, a 20-second time penalty will be added for their team. At the end of the stage, each team's times would be accumulated, and the team that has the slowest overall time will be eliminated from the competition. Now, if there's a tiebreaker, the competitor with the fastest time will get their team rank higher than the others. And finally, the points earned in the first stage will not be carried over to this stage and beyond. Now, onto this matchup chart you see here on the screen. You might be thinking, it's just a bunch of letters, right? Well, each team must choose a letter on whether they would like to have their 2 representatives run earlier or later on the stage. There have been team discussions behind the scenes on the possible outcomes on when they would like to take on the second stage, especially the 2 remaining Japanese teams who would like to face each other and avoid facing the foreigners to boost their hopes of advancing to the next stage and potentially to finally win an international ninja competition for their team at the end. Unfortunately, only one matchup is possible, and after the discussions, each team took turns choosing the letter they want on the matchup chart. The order would be the first stage rankings shown on the screen, meaning that Team Japan Red, who finished first, get first pick, resulting in many choices, whereas Team France would have to pick the last remaining letter that is available to them, and here are the letters that each team picked at the end. Now, choosing 2 competitors to take on the second stage for their team is never easy. For many Sasuke Ninja Warrior fans like me, we could predict it would be the ones who are fast at spider climbs or are in top form to take on this stage. That was the case for most teams, but for some, they did it in a different way. For this next section, I will go through each team via first stage ranking order and the 2 representatives they chose at the end alongside how they did it and my thoughts to it. Starting off with Team Japan Red, they first picked Tatsuya Tada due to his experience doing the spider climb on the final stage back in Sasuke 37. And their second pick was Yoshiyuki Yamamoto, as this stage is a speed stage, and speed is one of Yoshi's strongest traits. Both are solid choices, and you might think Yusuke Morimoto would be a better choice than Yoshi due to his experience on doing the spider climb multiple times on the final stage, but this was a strategic move, as they would like to save his energy for the third stage if they make it past this stage, and I have full confidence that they will advance at the end. For Team Australia, Olivia Vivian ruled herself out of the second stage as the men of her team have stronger legs than her, and getting to the third stage was their top priority. All the Aussie men were equally capable of taking on the second stage, so they decided to split in pairs and did rock paper scissors to determine who will take on the spider climb challenge. In the end, Daniel Mason beat Saxon Johnstone for their first pick, and Ashlyn Herbert beat Zach Stoltz as their second. If it was in terms of form, I would have picked Ashlyn and Zach. But again, I applaud their integrity of saying that they are equally capable of taking on the second stage, and I bet the two not chosen would produce more or less the same performances as the chosen ones. However, Daniel Mason did admit that his short height might be a concern for this stage, but in the end, he said he would give his best using short but quick precisive steps and produce a solid time for his team. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that an advantage of being short allows you to be stronger, but technically better at climbing, right? Anyways, moving on to Team Japan Blue. Their picks were quite obvious, and in the end, they chose Masashi Hiyoki and Tomohiro Kawaguchi to take on the second stage. Both are solid choices, especially Tomo due to his experience doing the spider climb on the final stage back in Sasuke 30. You might think Yuji Urushihara would be a slightly better choice due to experience, but like with Team Japan Red, this was a strategic move, as they would like to save his energy for the third stage. Let's hope once again the over 40s veteran competitiveness would be just enough for them to advance further in the competition. For Team USA, Daniel Gill was ruled out due to the ankle injury sustained on the first stage as mentioned on the previous video. They decided that whoever has good spring on their legs would be able to take on the second stage. In the end, they chose Joe Morovsky and RJ Roman. Both had abysmal performances on the first stage, and they are hoping to redeem themselves on the second stage with a burning desire and determination. It also makes more sense why they were chosen, as they both did not attempt the tackle obstacle on the first stage, which takes a lot of leg muscles out of them, whereas the other three did. For Team France, well, the method they did of choosing their two representatives was weird. Weirder than how Australia did it. All were capable of taking on the second stage, and yes, that did include the French female representative, Morangelique. I mean, I would call a team brave if they decided to pick a woman to take on the second stage. It is unfortunate that they didn't introduce like a female heat for this occasion. It certainly would be an honor to see them in action, just like how American Ninja Warrior did back then. Anyways, the method they did is something you might have experienced as a kid playing tag with your friends, and that is called Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. Basically, it's a children's counting out rhyme used to select a person in various games. In a game of tag, one person in the group points at each person for each syllable via a rhyming song, and the one pointed at the last syllable was declared as not it, or called as the evader. The last person standing would be it, or be called the chaser. In Team France's case, the person pointed at on the last syllable will be chosen to take on the second stage. They did it twice, and in the end, they chose Clément Gravier and Charles Boujard. If it was in terms of form, I would certainly choose those two. I mean, this method was kind of unnecessary to do in my opinion, but again, like with Team Australia, I would applaud their integrity saying that all five were capable of taking on the second stage. For Clément's case, he was described by teammates that he's good at everything. He mentions that he has never tried spider crawling vertically before, but his experience of spider crawling horizontally would hopefully help bring a fast time for his team. For Charles's case, well, he is a former parkour world champion and a YouTuber who does a variety of extreme stunts. So like the first stage, this second stage should fit right up his alley. However, just like with RJ and Joe, he had a poor hasty performance on the first stage and is hoping he would make up for that mistake with a strong but accurate performance on the second stage. So with each team choosing their letter and their two representatives and using the matchup letter sheet shown earlier, here are the matchups for the second stage. Some good lineups when you first look at it. For this section, I will go through each lineup in order and tell you whether each competitor cleared the obstacle and the time they got, or failed and earned a 20-second time penalty for their team. We start off the first heat consisting of France's Clément Gravier versus America's Joe Morovsky, the youngster versus the veteran. For Joe's case, the ninja competitions he competes back home is dominated by teenagers or young rising stars, and he's hoping to use that experience to try and beat this young rock climber on the second stage. Despite his best efforts and the stumble along the way, he was unable to beat him but completed it with a time of 12.67 seconds, whereas Clermont surged ahead with his incredible climbing skills and finished with a time of 9.54 seconds. A good start to the second stage. Both had incredible times for their respective teams, and is hoping their teammates would produce the same performances as them and produce an overall time fast enough for their team to advance to the third stage. Heat 2. We have Japan Red's Tatsuya Tada against Japan Blue's Masashi Hioki. Japan may have got the matchup they wanted, but they need to put their rivalry aside, focus on themselves, and produce fast spider climbs for their team to increase their chances of advancing to the third stage and finally winning an international ninja competition once and for all. And they did. Thanks to his Sasuke 37 final stage spider climb experience, Tada completes it in 9.67 seconds, whereas Hioki completed it almost 2 seconds later with a time of 11.60 seconds. Again, another good start for both competitors, and hopefully their teammates would do the same and finish the second stage strong with fast overall times to continue their journey for their first international trophy. Heat 3, we've got Australia's Daniel Mason against France's captain Charles Boujard. Other than the height issue mentioned earlier, the odds were stacked even more against Dan Mason as he is facing off a top speedster from France. But like I said before, as long as he keeps his head up and spider climb with short but speedy accurate paces, he should be fine and get to the top with a fast reasonable time for his team. Now for Charles, as a man experienced with extreme parkour movements, we all predict he's going to redeem himself and get to the top as fast as his teammate Clermont did, right? Well, the heat starts. Charles got ahead by Dan by a few meters, but suddenly he fell! No! He slipped midway through the obstacle and earns a 20-second penalty for his team in the process, whereas Dan steadily got to the top and completed it with a time of 40.02 seconds. Wow! What did we just witness? Charles! What happened, man? We thought this stage would be a redemption moment for you and your team, but you fluked it. Again? Well, anything can happen in Ninja, especially for top competitors. Like what we saw with Rene from Team Germany in Stage 1, Charles' Stage 2 run also fits in the category of speed kills, where a competitor rushes through the course and falls off due to recklessness and not being able to be accurate with your movements. Now, Team France's overall time is 29.54 seconds. It's even more frustrating that they used up both their team members and the other 4 teams haven't. So they're hoping their overall time is just fast enough to get to the third stage and hope their chances increase by hoping and praying that the other team members would produce slower times or fall off the obstacle like Charles did and earn their team 20-second penalties. I mean, for the 4 who haven't yet taken on the second stage, seeing Charles' unexpected failure definitely adds a sense of urgency that this stage is not just about speed, it's about being accurate with your movements to provide good traction within the walls and get to the top at a reasonable time. Let's see what results we get on the last 2 heats. Heat 4, we got America's RJ Roman facing against Japan Red's Yoshiyuki Yamamoto. 2 speedsters at their respective countries and is hoping to produce a blistering speedy performance for their team. And they did. Yoshi blazes up to the top with another sub 10 time for his team of 8.95 seconds, whereas RJ completes it 5.04 seconds later with a time of 13.09 seconds. Looking at RJ's body language when he finished, he seemed a little disappointed that he didn't get to the top first, and when he realized Yoshi soared off ahead of him, he had no chance but did the right thing, playing it safe by spider climbing at his own pace and managed to get to the top without any hiccups. His time added with Joe's time is just fast enough for his team to advance to stage 3, and so with Yoshi and Tada's combined time for Japan Red. Now, France's overall time of 29.54 seconds are in danger of getting kicked out of the competition. Again, they're hoping Japan Blue or Australia would finish at a slower overall time than them to advance to the third stage. Time for the final heat, and ironically they saved the best heat for last. Japan Blue's Tomohiro Kawaguchi versus Australia's Ashlyn Herbert, a veteran rock climber in his 40s, against a top speedster who just turned 30. Do not like the odds stacked against Tomo, but like I said before with competitors who are at a disadvantage like Daniel Mason, he has to focus on himself and his movements and get to the top as fast and precise as he can and not mess it up as what he just saw with Charles Boujard. If I could describe this heat in 3 words, it would be breathtaking, thrilling and close. Now you might be thinking, Mez, isn't that obvious who won this heat? Well, yes, you're not wrong asking that. Well, you know what, let me show you the times and do my play-by-play analysis on it. Ashlyn went ahead with a strong start, but had a few slip-ups ascending the obstacle, allowing Tomo to get past him, and for most of the time was ahead by Ashlyn by a few inches. But in the last few meters, Ashlyn used up all of that remaining energy to speed up and hit the buzzer first by half a second. What a heat this was, and what an end to this special second stage. Even TVS had to post it on X describing how extremely close their times were when it was broadcasted live. Australia's overall time is also just fast enough to advance to the third stage, so is Team Japan Blue, who celebrated in jubilation when their results were announced. What a moment for them, still proving that the veterans can still compete against ninjas around the world who are slightly younger than them. So at the end of the second stage, Team Japan Red come out on top once again, and as for the other four teams, the margins between their overall times were unbelievably close. If I was part of one of those four teams, I would have been extremely nervous hoping my team's overall time is just fast enough to advance, but in the end, the team with the slowest overall time had to go, and we surprisingly say goodbye to another top team, and that is Team France. Well, my initial prediction was that Team Australia would go out of this stage due to lack of recent participations in international ninja competitions. If it wasn't for that fall from Charles Bouchard, I would have been right. But in this competition, any top competitor could make a mistake that would cause them their downfall for their team, and that was the case with Charles. I mean, I bet that there were some fans who predicted that this team would go out sooner than expected. Coming into this competition, they have the youngest average age team of 24.6, and they are considered dark horses, as they have less experience in the ninja world than the other teams. However, they have just won the last international team competition held in their home country, with all but Valentin de Carnin that were part of that winning team, and they hope to continue that winning mentality competing abroad. With 4 rock climbers in the team, I think we can all agree that if they make it to the third stage, they would dominate that stage, showcasing their true talents and hopefully be the first foreigners to clear that brutal cliff dimension. Especially the person who we think would most likely clear that stage, Clement Gravier. Honestly, I would love to see him take on that obstacle, as he has an extremely powerful grip strength, and I would like him to try out the vertical limit burst and become the first person to find the right strategy to it, as 4 Japanese men before him couldn't. But this year was not meant to be. But hey, they certainly gave it their all in this competition. They showed their other skill set of speed, agility and balance in the first stage, which led them to having 3 clears, but they couldn't earn as more points as they thought they would due to playing it safe and slow. The situation got worse when Moran and Charles failed, and despite being level on point with Germany, they had more clears than them, and they just advanced to the second stage by the skin of their teeth. And their hopes of advancing to the third stage were strong thanks to Clement's powerful ascent, but Charles' shocking failure imposed that time penalty and become the direct cause of the subsequent elimination for his own team. It was certainly sad for Team France to go out like this, and I hope we get to see more of them in action in future international ninja team competitions to come. GG! So that concludes my analysis and thoughts on the second stage. To summarize, it was nice to see a change to this stage, which contains just one obstacle that is simple, quick and straight to the point. All the competitors certainly gave their best, producing fast spider climbs for their team, showing that any team could go out of the competition by a tight margin. But Charles' fall was the nail in the coffin of advancing his team further in their World Cup journey. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before I end this video, what are your thoughts on this revamped second stage? Did you like the idea that this stage was just one obstacle that was simple, quick and straight to the point? Who did you think would go out on this stage? And what changes would you like to see in future competitions like this on this stage? Do you think it would be reverted back to the ordinary stage like Marmite? If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I do appreciate it. More videos like this to come as my YouTube journey goes on and on. Honestly, I wish the height of the spider climb was more, to get to the top of the final stage tower.